Hey there, my name is E.W. Buckley, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. The 808 sub-bass sound is ubiquitous in popular music, but if you have ever tried to make your own, then you might know already that it's more difficult to get right than it might seem at first. Beyond that, it can be even more challenging to figure out how to make it your own. Today, I'm going to show you how you can design your own 808s that hit hard and are going to cut through a mix even on small speakers. They're also going to sound damn good as well. And I'm going to do it all using just one synthesizer and no additional processing. Let's talk about why some 808s hit harder than others. The lower we go in the frequency spectrum, the larger the physical waveform becomes. And that means that sound systems require more energy and more power to produce these waveforms at considerable volumes. And to be clear, we're talking like festival sound systems here, like the most powerful sound systems around. So how do the speakers on an iPhone even stand a chance then? Yet there are some songs that the bass and the 808 cuts through. Why? Well, it has everything to do with harmonics. So let's jump in and talk about it. Today I'm going to be using Ableton's Drift synthesizer to make our 808s. When we think of the core anatomy of an 808 sub-bass, there are two parts: the initial transient and the long subby tail. So we need to design both. So let's start with just oscillator 2 set to the sine wave, and I'm going to bring the octave to 0. Now I have a short MIDI pattern here that I have sequenced between C1 and C0, which is generally the octave that you want to be working in with sub bass. Now your sweet spot is going to be F0 to B0, but I wanted to include this low C0 so that I can show you how to get audible sub that low. So let's hear how this pattern sounds with just our sine wave. Now I could bring the volume all the way up to 0 on this, but that isn't going to help a whole ton. Now, if you're listening over studio monitors or nice headphones, then this is a fat, subby sine wave sound, but it has no shape to it at all. We have the right frequency content for the tail of our 808s, but we don't have that transient. To do that, we're going to set up a pitch envelope to add that attack. So I am going to set my attack on envelope 2 to 0. I'm going to bring the sustain down to 0 as well, and I'm going to set the decay to 150 milliseconds. I'm then going to go over to the pitch modulation matrix here, and it's already routed to envelope 2, so I'm going to set that to 25%. This creates the transient we're looking for. If we want to emphasize it further, we can lower the sustain on the amp envelope. So I'll bring that to 40. Additionally, the note disappears pretty quickly. So I'm going to set the release to be nice and long. Let's just go about 3 seconds. I'm going to set the mode to mono, so that way these notes don't overlap with one another now that we have a long release. Again, it's very fat, it's very huge, it's very deep. But if I bring back the entire beat, it disappears entirely. This won't cut through a mix or translate well over small speakers. Why? The reason for that is harmonics. The trick to getting big subs to translate across small speakers has nothing to do with what we've done so far, funny enough. This low sine wave is the fundamental frequency, but it's the harmonics that help us hear it and to help it translate across smaller systems. Simply put, harmonics are additional frequencies that are whole number multiples of the fundamental frequency in any sound. So take the fundamental, multiply it by 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. When we boost the harmonics of a note, we strengthen the perception of the fundamental. Now, if everything I just said to you seems confusing or overwhelming, you probably want to check out my course, Beginner Synthesis in Ableton Live. This is the course where you'll learn sound design fundamentals in depth. You'll finish the course with a strong foundation in synthesis and all the skills necessary to start designing your own sounds. You can click the card above me or head to the link in the description to learn more. So right now, this sine wave is just the fundamental. Let me play it for you again. The peak that we're seeing moving around here is just the fundamental frequency of each note. It is just truly that singular pitch. So we need to find some way to introduce harmonics. There are many ways to create harmonics. An easy way is to add some sort of drive, distortion, or saturation to the signal. If I crank the gain on oscillator 2 all the way up to 6, that's going to saturate the input of the filter, and that is going to introduce harmonics. The sound is now brighter overall, and we can better hear the bass. Now let's bring this back down to where it was. And another way to introduce harmonics is to just simply change the waveform overall. So I'm going to select a triangle wave, and that introduces our odd harmonics. So your 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th harmonics, so on and so forth. Let's listen to that. And running that hard through the filter to again introduce additional harmonics. Both of these are really common approaches to getting 808s to have presence and to better translate over smaller systems. Let's bring back the whole beat and let's see how this sounds now. This is already so much more audible than it was before. But we can go even further. Let's talk about adding flavor to your 808s and making them your own. I'm going to solo the sub again, so we're just working with it for now. We're going to customize and add flavor to our 808s by sculpting the overtones. Simply put, overtones are any frequencies above the fundamental in a sound. Harmonics are overtones, but not all overtones are harmonics. And that's okay. We don't need them to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to engage oscillator 1, and I'm going to set oscillator 2 back to being a sine wave. I'm also going to click this button so that it no longer is routed through the filter. So oscillator 2 is now again just a simple sine wave. I'm going to use oscillator 1 to add the harmonics and add the interesting overtones that shape the sound. So let's start off by setting it to a triangle wave. And I'm going to use the shape control to change the shape of the oscillator's waveform. Now I'm going to hit play and I'm going to continue to play with this shape control, and we're going to see from both the visualization down here and the EQ readout above us that the shape and the harmonics of the waveform are changing dramatically. This is really bright overall, so what we're going to do is we're going to use the filter. Make sure there's no routing happening to the filter, and we're going to make sure that key tracking is all the way up. And we're going to set the resonance to 0.5. Now we're going to close the filter to taste. We want to have a little bit of mid-range energy going on, but we don't want it to be so bright that it's going to distract from other elements in the production. So we'll close it to taste. About 1000 hertz is nice. So again, now focusing on the shape control once more, this allows us to sculpt oscillator 1 and create different flavors of overtones and customize and individualize our 808s. That sounds pretty nice to me. Now, I would experiment with different waveforms for oscillator 1. For example, if we go to a sawtooth wave and we crank the shape up a little bit about past halfway, we may need to open the filter, but you're going to get this almost whistling-like effect. Now, one last trick that I will leave you with is modulating the position of this shape control. So for now, I'm going to set the shape back to a triangle wave. And where we set the modulation for the shape control, I'm going to select the LFO. And I'm going to bring it up to about 50%. And then over on the LFO, I'm going to set the rate to sync. And I'm going to crank it all the way up to 8 measures. From there, I'm going to set the wave shape to sample and hold. And then I'm going to turn on retrigger. And so what this means then is every time a note is played, the position of the LFO is going to be randomized, which means it's going to randomize the position of this shape control. And that's going to add some interest and variety. And because we cranked the sync rate all the way up to 8 measures, it's going to take 8 measures before this LFO would change its position on its own. So effectively, we've introduced randomization to our 808. Now, there are tools that we don't have to worry about a sync rate, but I wanted to keep this exclusively to drift. And so that's what we're doing here. So if I just hit some notes on my keyboard, we can see that visualization changing in real time. You can dial in the amount to taste, but this is a really fun and easy way to create your own customized 808s. And as a final touch, I'm going to bring the shape back down to 0.15, and I'm also going to crank up oscillator 1 so that we're driving the filter and we're getting that saturation. And because that's going to now introduce some more harmonics, I'm going to close the filter again, just a little bit, playing a couple of notes so we can hear that. Now let's hear it once more in the context of our final beat. Now I'm going to play it again for you once more, and I'm going to toggle on and off oscillator 1. And when I remove oscillator 1, we're going to be back at just that sine wave that is giving us that low body, but it is not giving us any of that important audible information coming from the harmonics and the overtones. It's going to be pretty stark when I do it. And there you have it. That's how you make 808s that punch through, hit hard, and how you can customize them to make them your own using all just one synthesizer. These are the building blocks that you need to design your own 808s. In reality, these are just the fundamentals of synthesis applied in one particular way. And again, if you're missing these fundamentals, head to the link in the description of this video and check out my course, Beginner Synthesis in Ableton Live. You'll learn the common tools and concepts used in synthesis and sound design, and you'll make a bunch of practical and usable patches along the way. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. I'm working really hard to try to grow this channel to 15,000 subscribers by the end of 2025, and it's your support entirely that makes it possible. Till next time.